everyone, it's Sky from Arthritis to Athlete here, and recently on their channel Buff Dudes, Brandon and Hudson did a 30-day vegan challenge. If you guys didn't know them, they're basically just a fitness and entertainment channel here on YouTube. So me being pretty familiar with most of the common pitfalls people fall into when switching to a vegan or plant-based diet, I figured I'd give my 2 cents on this video. We'll talk about some of the positives, the negatives, and what they got right or wrong about the facts. Now, just so new people on my channel know, I don't necessarily promote a vegan diet, I promote a whole foods plant-based diet, and I just so happen to be vegan myself. I really try my best not to be that stereotypical dogmatic vegan that says the only healthy diet there is a vegan one, period. But that being said, I am vegan because I know that the benefits of a whole food plant-based vegan diet don't just stop at health. They extend vastly to the environment and ethics as well. I live in the Midwest United States, in the middle of cattle country of all places, so if I start telling people, oh dude, you should go vegan, they just get like really uncomfortable and they're like, okay, let's change subjects, please. Baby steps, right? It's probably not the optimal solution, but it's definitely the one I find works the best. Anyway, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let's not delay anymore. Let's jump right into this. Roll the intro. Okay, so they start off the video giving a pretty simple and very brief but pretty good explanation of a vegan diet. They just mention a few health benefits, how it's good for the animals, and it's better for the environment too, but they don't really go into detail. Anyway, let's get into some of their food choices. So they kick off day one with their first ever totally vegan grocery shopping spree. Will it be an epic win, an epic fail? I don't really know where I'm going with this. Gosh, let's just find out.
Now we're starting off with the greens. Gotta say, broccoli is probably number 1 on the list. It's an excellent source of carbohydrates, a lot of fiber, but also protein too. Spinach, excellent source of fiber and protein, much like broccoli. Very delicious, nutritious, and another top on the list for the dark greens category. Asparagus spears, going with a little bit more starchy carbohydrates, and in the form of potatoes. The beautiful world of nuts. There's so many choices. The oatmeal is an excellent source of complex carbohydrates, but also fiber too, and it's definitely a mainstay in my morning routine. I have it for breakfast almost every morning with some walnuts on there, maybe some flaxseed. Now beans are an excellent source of fiber, but also protein as well. Probably getting a majority of our protein from the beans, but also rice as well, especially quinoa. So we're just picking out some canned beans right now, some black beans, garbanzo beans, and also some pinto beans. But it's time to find out if the saying is actually true. Beans, the magical fruit, the more you eat, the more you toot.
Now, I really don't want to spoil anything here, but foreshadowing. I don't think you really needed that visual, but I'm keeping it in. I think you catch my drift. So as you can see, this is shaping up to be a fantastic start to this challenge. Not only are they doing a vegan challenge here, but they're going really whole foodie as well, so props to these guys, seriously, it's awesome. I've seen many people try a vegan or plant-based diet and they just don't know what to eat because their whole food world has been based around meat. When in reality, there's very few limitations with plant foods, it's just that we haven't been taught to think about food from that perspective. Because of this, a lot of people will feel deprived and just totally undereat calories. And then you feel like crap, and then you don't have any energy, and it's like, of course you don't have any energy. Your dinner was literally 2 green beans and an apple.
OMG, I just feel so weak and tired. I feel like my body just needs some meat or something, you know? Yeah, girl, you do you. You know, I heard about this girl on the news that went on a vegan diet and her boobs fell off. Yeah. Oh my goodness, how does that even happen? Oh, I have no idea. But, logic doesn't really matter with these things anyway.
You're kidding, right? Brenda, I've seen your meals and you're eating like someone in Auschwitz. Of course you feel tired.
Whatever. Just let me say I tried being vegan and then I felt crappy so I don't have to feel bad about my decision. Yeah, buzz off.
Okay, jeez, why are you so violent? True story, it actually happened. Not lying, at all. Anyway, towards the end of their shopping trip, they point out how there's so many delicious vegan alternatives for people who don't want to give up foods like cheese, bacon, or yogurt.
This wonderful goodness, it not only has 8 grams of protein per serving, it has 50% more calcium than regular milk, it contains B12, and there's also less sugar too. So, thank you alternative milk. In today's age, they actually make vegan yogurt, vegan a lot of things actually, even vegan meat.
So these vegan alternative foods and protein powders, I don't really recommend them for health, but they can be a great transitionary tool to kind of get your feet wet. Also, you really shouldn't need protein powders to get your protein, even if you're vegan, but I do think it's kind of nice they included this to appeal to their buff audience who might be worried about getting protein on a plant-based diet. So really, overall, shopping was fantastic. Really whole foody and covered all the food groups, really.
Some imprison their potatoes in the ground, but we let them roam free. When you wrangle them like we do, you'll find these half-pound sunbees are called sweet tates.
Also, I just thought I'd shout out their humor. Kind of reminds me of something I would make, actually, so props to you guys.
Although I was originally tempted, I'm gonna go all in and try not to replicate meat. For me, it's like telling your new girlfriend, hey, dress like my ex-girlfriend, act like my ex-girlfriend, but don't be my ex-girlfriend.
Well, I've never heard that one before, but hey, I guess it kind of makes sense. But like I said, you know, you don't have to necessarily go completely whole food. These transition foods exist for a reason. You can use them to get your feet wet. Now, this whole video has been really great so far, but this next statement he says kind of threw me for a loop.
Can I get the protein I need? How do I stay away from eating too many carbs? Stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, Susan, all of these carbs are like going straight from my lips right to my hips.
Seriously? 1 minute his brother is praising all these foods for their high complex carbohydrate content and fiber, but then again I guess he's kind of worried about carbs, I guess? It's pretty common in the fitness industry. I was there once too. It's a common thing in fitness and health to get this statement of too many carbs. Well, let me just remind you of some facts. Your primary focus really shouldn't be carbs, or any macros for that matter. But in fact, according to science, the optimal diet is going to be one that is very high in whole plant foods. And surprise, that just so happens to be high in whole food carbohydrates as well. And that's not a bad thing. Basically, what I'm trying to say is what's really important is what package do your nutrients come in. The longest lived, healthiest populations in the world, such as the Okinawans in Japan and the Adventists in Loma Linda, California, eat a very carb-heavy diet, like up to 85% of their calories from carbohydrates. But the key is they're coming in the form of sweet potatoes and rice and fruits and vegetables, not like things like potato chips. Well, fun fact, those are actually higher in fat than they are in carbs, but I think you get my drift. And if you're worried about weight gain, we have plenty of studies like this one, where they overfeed men refined carbohydrates in huge amounts, and they find that a very small percentage of it is actually stored as fat. This idea that all carbs are the same or equal because they break down to the same chemical components inside your body is completely unfounded and unscientific, and it's stupid to believe this kind of crap. Sorry for getting kind of savage on that, but I used to believe this kind of crap, as do millions and millions of Americans, and it continues to propagate throughout the media. I used to be that guy that was like, oh no, 2 servings of black beans? That's too many carbs! But then I would turn right around and be like, oh, a whole tub of cottage cheese? Heck yeah!
It's like every time I fart, my ass commits murder. It's so bad I don't even like the smell. When switching from a meat to plant-based diet, this is typical, and as people have told me, it goes away in the first few weeks.
All right, I see you, and I feel your pain. I actually had the same problem when I jumped headfirst into a whole food plant-based diet, and I can tell you he's not lying when he says the butt trumpeting can be pretty bad. I just used the word butt trumpeting in a video. I'm keeping that in. But the great thing is, he acknowledges that this is a temporary issue, and I can totally vouch for that. I'm now eating up to 100 grams of fiber a day, and I have no problem with gas. But it doesn't actually seem that he gets this totally under control in the video, so buff dudes, if by some YouTube miracle you're watching, here's my tips. It appears that you switch to a very healthy, whole food, plant-based diet with very little or no processed foods. And that's great, you're gonna get tons of benefit. But if you've been eating a certain way for many, many years of your life, in fact, most of your life, then it's gonna really take some time for your gut bacteria to adapt to a totally new type of diet. You're probably consuming significantly more fiber and from sources you're not used to eating in super high quantities, like beans. Your microbiome and your gut will change, but it just takes some time. However, if you're desperate for a solution even quicker, here's a tip. Simply ramping up your fiber a few grams per week can make this transition so much easier. It might mean that you have to eat a little more processed foods with less fiber in it initially, but it's just a temporary change. If you really want to know about gut health, check out Dr. Angie Sadeghi. She is awesome. All right, next point.
On plants, and plants only. Hopefully they aren't sentient. I'm not sure if they are or not. Science has not discovered that yet, but hopefully they're not, because then we would only be able to survive off water.
Okay, total side note in this video, but they really seem to understand all the stupid and ridiculous vegan stereotypes that we get, all these crazy double standards, and it's really reflected in their humor. I think some people might interpret these clips as like subtle bashing of vegans, but I really think that it's just that they understand these stupid misconceptions and are kind of making light of them, kind of like I do on my channel. But seriously, their skits are pretty funny. I'll link their video in the description if you want to watch it.
I'm pretty happy with my gym so far, the progress. I think in a way, having a little bit additional carbs has really helped me. I feel fuller, very full, very pumped in the gym. I feel big after every workout, and my strength levels really haven't decreased, which is great.
So this is great, and it's also actually pretty typical. Contrary to what most people might think, it's really not hard. You don't even have to try to keep your strength up or testosterone up or whatever whenever you're vegan. And that's supported by the science. For example, in this study, on average, vegan men have higher free testosterone levels than non-vegan men.
Yo, bro, I heard you're vegan. Are you like doing all right?
Yeah, pretty darn great actually. What about yourself?
No, bro. I mean, like, well, you know, like downstairs dingling.
Did you really just say that? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's perfect. Great. 100%. This idea that meat equals manliness or high testosterone levels or strength or whatever is a total cultural construct, and it's ridiculous. It's not based in reality at all. It's really nice to see YouTubers like this try to make a drastic lifestyle change and really understand what it entails. That way they don't just flop right under their face and fail in the first few days. Seriously, this is like a textbook example of how to make a lifestyle change for the better. So, with all that said, what's the final verdict? Let's find out.
I can't say that I'm going to continue on with a plant-only diet. So for me personally, it's going to be a no flex.
I'm gonna have to go with no flex.
So just one question. Why? I mean, really, why? Again, I'm not the type of vegan that says everybody has to be vegan, but you guys were really just starting to roll with this change and really get some great benefits out of it. I mean, I'm gonna guess that it's probably a combination of social pressures and maybe other types of pressures. If it's the gas you're worried about, like I said, I promise that goes away over time when your microbiome adapts. And if you really can't wait, just slowly ramp up your fiber intake over time. Like seriously, you guys freaking crushed it. You made like none of the mistakes that most people make doing this. And your bodies, the planet, and all life on it were sure as heck thanking you for it. You guys also seem to understand that there are huge environmental benefits to eating totally whole food plant-based as well. I won't go into all the details, but just for a refresher, animal agriculture is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions, up to 91% of Amazon deforestation, nearly a third of all of Earth's fresh water, and nearly half of the United States land is devoted just to livestock. I mean, come on, there have to be better ways to use the resources we've been given on this planet, and not supporting the industries that cause this devastation is step number one. And you also seem to understand that the ethical benefits are nice too. No animal has to die for you to live. That's great. And if we can live in a way that's more compassionate to our own bodies, the whole planet, and all life on it, why the heck wouldn't we? Don't let this short-term gas or social pressures stop you from making a great and positive change. The momentary pleasure you get from consuming an animal's body is not worth all of the massive devastation that it causes to this world. And look, I'll be fair here, even if you guys don't stay totally vegan, no hard feelings. But now that you understand how amazing you can feel on a plant-based diet, why wouldn't you want to continue moving in that direction, or just stay there? I know one of the guys said at the end of the video that he wants to start moderating his meat intake maybe, but come on, guys, let's be honest. Moderate meat intake for Americans is really high meat intake. Again, I'm not saying you have to go completely vegan. If you want to, that's great, but why would you go back to most of your old habits and just change a little bit when you know that you could be doing so much more good in the world for yourself and the world? I promise you guys, if you can just stick with this kind of thing for a little longer, it will start to feel not like work. It'll actually start to be kind of fun. And I think you guys could actually enjoy it. Alright guys, so I've really got to wrap it up there. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you got any value out of this video, please consider adding value back to my channel by liking, commenting, and hitting that subscribe button, as well as the bell icon next to it. It helps my channel out a bunch. Alright, well, I don't think I have anything else to say, so with that, I'll see you guys soon, and God bless.